Okay, our friend Noah Hamman from AdvisorShares joins us now. Noah, we've been picking your brain all year long on what to trade and what not to trade ahead of the election. Well, the election is here. So what are some of your final trades?
Well, so a few weeks back when we talked about hedging into this election and getting nervous. Honestly, the market turn down came probably a few days earlier than I expected. I thought, people working behind the scenes, maybe the Fed or maybe someone else would want to have the market a little bit more positive going into November 3rd. But we're seeing it happen already, that the market's getting nervous. You're seeing people take risk off. And I think that's what investors need to do. We're still in the middle of a global pandemic. So going to cash or going to inverse equities is going to be a great place to look for opportunities in your portfolio.
Noah, I want to talk about your take on cannabis stocks right now, because on November 3rd, legalizing marijuana either for recreational or medicinal use will be on the ballot in 6 states. What do you do with cannabis stocks right now? Let's say you're not even in them. You want some exposure. Do you wait to see how that all plays out? Do you get in now in the days just before voters go and vote?
I think it depends on your risk tolerance, but we're big fans of it. So I think you go in now. I think those are the stocks that are going to carry for the long term. So I saw that interview you had with the governor of New Jersey, and so he's a perfect example of states are looking for those opportunities. And thankfully, he said the right thing about social justice being the primary reason to look at legalization. But obviously, the tax benefits for these states are going to be critical. So I would just tell investors, though, to be careful. You see a lot of companies like Aurora or Cannabis sort of as the poster child stocks for the cannabis space, but they have struggled so much. They're Canadian cannabis companies, and they haven't done well at all. So you want to look at the U.S. Operators or multi-state operators. We have a product, the ticker symbol's MSOS, and that's what it focuses in on. So 2 companies that to consider would be a company like a Curaleaf, that's our top holding U.S. operator, or maybe a Cresco Labs, 2 companies to think of in that space.
So no, you suggest to raise cash into the election, but do you think the infrastructure sector could be a winner no matter who wins the White House?
I think so. I think in both instances, Biden's going to be very aggressive about that. I think Trump's going to try to do everything he can to get jobs going, get the market back going. So I see infrastructure being a great opportunity going, after the next election cycle. It's okay to sit out the volatility, I think, for that for now. But definitely, I see that as a place to be in 2021.
What are you staying away from, just absolutely staying away from until you understand the outcome of this election?
I'm probably mostly staying away from anything except for, tech and then, Vice or cannabis, right? Even broadly Vice. People see that as, broadly recession proof. Our own Vice strategy is up 8.5% this year. So it's weathered the market well, keeping in mind the S&P is only up, probably less now, but I know a couple of days ago, only up 2.5%, and the all country world index. So just a benchmark of how your global portfolio is doing is still flat this year. So those are the kind of companies that we like. We certainly like tech. We know that some of those companies are struggling today. We know Apple's struggling a little bit. We talked about that 2 weeks ago. They might have a couple of bad quarters. They're going to be just fine. Holding those in your portfolio, maybe buying on the dips if you have some cash available is a smart decision, I think.
Pretty much across the board, Noah, a lot of these big cap tech companies reported yesterday slowing growth. And in the case of Apple, sales were down in China. Which name would you gravitate towards?
So I might wait if you don't have to put money into work right now. But I like Apple because of the 5G. We talked about that last time as well, that I think there's going to be a lot of people upgrading their phones. And the thing that I probably found out since we've last talked is that maybe it's questionable the type of speed that you're actually going to get on that Apple 5G phone. But I think nonetheless, you're going to see a lot of people upgrading. So maybe a weak quarter or 2 here and there, but that's still going to continue to be a strong company. They're going to sell more products. So I would buy on any dip opportunity, and I wouldn't feel a strong need to sell that position if I had it today.
What are you doing with the oil sector right now, which has been a big topic of conversation when it comes to the election, in particular, each candidate's stance on fracking? Do you hold off? On energy, we heard from ExxonMobil and Chevron today and how difficult this pandemic has been for the big oil giants.
I think so. They've started to level out. We've seen earlier this year, that was absolutely not the place to be. But I kind of lump them into my infrastructure exposure, right? So I'm going to put energy companies in that space as well. We've seen huge run-ups in the clean energy space. So I think there's an ETF out there called TAN that focuses in on solar energy that's been up significantly. That feels like it's run up a little bit too high when you look at the clean energy space and the kind of money that needs to be put into the system for them to grow and see the kind of profitability they want to see and adoption. So I think, traditional energy and oil companies, as we looked for the infrastructure opportunity to grow, will still be a pretty good place to be, I think.
So no, let's say come election day, you're watching all day the Yahoo Finance and Yahoo News election coverage, and it starts to seem like Joe Biden is going to win the White House. What are the trades you get ready to put on that next morning?
So that's probably the one where I've mentioned in the past, I'm most nervous just from a market perspective, right? It looks like he's going to win. We'll see what happens. And I think that's probably not going to be great for the stock market, certainly initially, and then maybe a little bit over time. I do think it'll be great for the economy, right? I think he will be very aggressive about investing in the infrastructure, and that will mean jobs, and that'll mean putting people back to work, and I think that will be great. But you'll see a president probably less focused on the markets as a measure of success. And you talk about, some of the things that are going on relative to where taxes might be. You could see a lot of tax-related selling going into year end. So, a Biden victory doesn't get me nervous about the economy, but gets me nervous about the market.
Well, Noah, get your cannabis gummies ready. It's going to be a long night. Always.
I will.
Yeah, always good to speak with you. Noah Hamman from AdvisorShares. Good to see you.
Thank you.